talk about Tulsi Gabbard. Washington Post came out with an article entitled Tulsi Gabbard, Her Guru, and the Mysterious Messages That Helped Shape Her Political Career. I obtained hundreds of confidential memos detailing politics and policy guidance for Gabbard from her years in Congress, then embarked on a quest to identify who was behind them. This bitch was in a cult. There had been rumors and speculation about Chris Butler, the eccentric religious leader Gabbard once described as her guru. That should have clued people in right there. That should have been like, excuse me, ding, 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 motherfucker. Her guru, her religious guru. Gabbard grew up in Butler's breakaway Hare Krishna group. Her parents held senior positions in the organization. Salzberg said that she herself had been a member since moving to Hawaii with a college friend in the 1990s. Butler's followers practice a form of Hinduism that involves devotion to a single deity, in their case, Krishna, and certain expectations around meditation, yoga, and diet. Some former members, however, have called the group a cult and said disciples were isolated from the outside world. Characterizations of the group is denied. Former devotees had been telling me for weeks that Butler controlled his followers in major life decisions and demanded total obedience and secrecy. They said he spent years working to extend his reach into politics, and they suspected Gabbard's rise in Washington was the culmination of that effort. Now that Gabbard, a former Democratic congresswoman, had been picked by President-elect Donald Trump to be Director of National Intelligence, I wanted to understand just how much influence did Butler have on her. Well, not much, Salzberg told me in the first conversation. She also played down the importance of Butler's organization, the Science of Identity Foundation. I don't even really see it as a real group, she said. 9 months later, Salzberg, then 53, got back in touch. This time, she had a different story to tell. She didn't want to say much on a regular phone line, so we switched to an encrypted messaging app. Salzberg told me she'd worked for Butler as a secretary in the 1990s and lived for a time with Gabbard's parents and other devotees in a rented property. She said she had recently fallen out with the leaders of SIF, who she believed were mishandling allegations of physical and sexual abuse by some members of the organization. A few months earlier, she said, she'd been arrested for briefly housing a teenage runaway who alleged abuse by a parent associated with the group. Salzberg claimed SIF members had engineered her arrest. It all seemed a little conspiratorial and hard to follow, and I was deep into another story. But here was a minor mystery that had been nagging at me since I looked into SIF the previous year, a name I'd stumbled upon deep within some records. One question I wrote to Salzberg last September: do you know what 9 Aisles is? Her answer surprised me, and it sent me on a nearly year-long quest to better understand Gabbard, who left office last week. Salzberg told me that 9 Aisles was an email domain used by Butler's office, one reserved for secretaries and select disciples. She said she herself had received emails from 9 Aisles addresses when she worked on Gabbard's campaigns. She thought she deleted most of them, she said, but when Salzberg logged into an old Gmail account, she found hundreds of emails from her SIF days, many from 9 Aisles accounts. She shared some with me. Their content was extraordinary. Dozens of attached memos appeared to document directives and advice for Gabbard from her time in Congress. Some contained instructions on what legislation she should propose, which policy she should embrace, and how she should conduct herself on television. They had an air of authority. A memo about a proposal to partition war-torn Iraq into 3 states quoted an unnamed person as saying it was time for TG to come up with this idea. Some of the language was harshly critical. One memo I found from January 2015 contained a derisive assessment of a statement Gabbard was given in response to President Barack Obama's annual address to Congress. In the first place, nobody gives a shit what you think about the State of the Union speech unless you're going to say something of interest. The memo quoted someone as saying, "You're not even trying. You're really becoming intellectually lazy." In another, Gabbard was described as chicken shit and mealy-mouthed for her comments on a policy proposal. I noticed that Gabbard, for the most part, was not listed as a recipient of these emails, though many went to people around her, including her parents. The attached memos appeared to be transcripts, often fragmentary, of spoken remarks or conversations. She's a traitor. I never, ever want to hear any Republican or conservative talk about national security again. Ever. Johnny Escola says it perfectly. A traitor who takes orders from a fringe religious guru was the director of national intelligence for 15 months. For 15 months. The newly exposed reality of Tulsi Gabbard's compromised leadership is a massive blow to American security. For years, critics warned about Tulsi Gabbard's alarming ties to Chris Butler and his Hawaii-based sect. Now, a massive trove of leaked emails and internal memos has proven the worst-case scenario. The documents reveal a systematic pipeline where Gabbard was told exactly what to post, what legislation to introduce, and how to frame her media appearances. Her political career was essentially manufactured and guided by a group that former members explicitly describe as an abusive cult. It explains so much about her baffling political trajectory. This is the same person who consistently parroted pro-Russian propaganda, carried water for brutal regimes, and actively worked to undermine Western alliances from within the highest levels of government. Donald Trump's decision to appoint a compromised asset to the role of Director of National Intelligence is pure betrayal of American interest. It goes beyond simple bad judgment. Elevating a compromised figure under the total control of a cult leader is as traitorous as it gets. Isn't that how we got Trump? Basically, just cults all over. It's not the deep state, it's the deep cult. I mean, what the fuck is wrong in our society? These cult members are very interesting men. They're normally very small men, but very charismatic men. This case interests me, but I'm more just infuriated by the incompetence that this administration demonstrates on a daily fucking basis. It's so exhausting to watch them. They hate democracy. They hate democracy. They're actively working against the Constitution of the United States. And here you have it. And I'm terrified for what this has done to our national security. And now he wants to pull in Bill Pulte? Bill Pulte? And I know we have Democrats clamoring for this other guy, Jay Clayton. I don't trust him either. I feel in a way, though, that Donald Trump has already sold anything that's valuable in our country just out from under us. Already. So, I guess what else could they fucking do? Thank you for watching my videos.